All right, this one is interesting. The Samsung Galaxy S26 Ultra has just launched and deliveries are only starting now. People are still unboxing it, reviews are still coming out, and we haven't even reached the Samsung Galaxy S27 Ultra yet, which is expected next year. But here's the surprising part. There is already a news story about the Samsung Galaxy S28 lineup, and it could bring a very different kind of chip technology. And if this actually happens, it might quietly change how flagship phone chips are made. Let me explain this in a very simple way. Right now, most smartphone chips, whether it's from Samsung, Apple, or Qualcomm, are made using something called wafer packaging. Think of it like baking cookies on a round tray. The chip factories use big 300mm round wafers, and they cut many chips out of that circle. That method works, it's proven, it's reliable. But Samsung has been experimenting with something different for years. It's called FO-PLP, which basically means fan-out panel-level packaging. Now, don't worry about the complicated name. Here's the simple idea. Instead of using round wafers, Samsung uses big square panels. Imagine baking cookies on a big square tray instead of a round one. Because the tray is bigger and square, you can fit more chips at the same time. That means higher production and lower cost. And in theory, it could make flagship chips cheaper to manufacture. But there has been a big problem stopping this from happening: warping. When the panel becomes very large, it starts bending slightly during the manufacturing process, and when that happens, the chips can become defective. That small bending problem has basically been the silent enemy of this technology for years. Because of that, Samsung only used FO-PLP in smaller devices, like smartwatch chips. For example, chips used in Samsung Galaxy Watch models already use this packaging method. Smartwatches were like the testing ground. If something went wrong, the risk was smaller. But flagship phones costing over $1,000, Samsung wasn't ready to take that risk. Until now. According to new information shared by tech leaker Jukin Losrev, Samsung may finally have a solution. Instead of using the massive 600 by 600 millimeter panels they used before, Samsung is switching to a smaller panel size. The new panel size is 415 by 510 millimeters. Still large, but much easier to control. Think of it like switching from a giant pizza tray to a slightly smaller one so the dough doesn't bend in the oven. This smaller panel reduces warping, which means more stable chip production. And here's the exciting part. If everything goes according to plan, Samsung could start using this technology for its flagship phone processors, most likely with future Exynos chips. And the first phone that might benefit from it? The Samsung Galaxy S28. Now remember, this phone is still years away, but chip technology takes a very long time to develop, so companies plan this stuff far ahead. Another interesting detail is production efficiency. Even with the smaller panels, this FO-PLP system could still be about 3 times more productive than traditional wafer manufacturing. That's a huge difference. More chips per batch, less wasted space, and potentially lower production cost. And when production becomes cheaper, companies get more flexibility. They can either reduce prices or spend that money on better performance, better cooling, and more advanced features. Now here's another twist. Samsung isn't the only company thinking about this. The world's biggest chip manufacturer, TSMC, is also working on similar panel-based packaging technology. But their version might actually use even smaller panels, though details are still very unclear right now. The race here is fascinating. If Samsung moves first and reaches mass production around 2027, it could give them a major advantage, not just in performance, but in manufacturing cost and capacity. And that's extremely important, because making flagship chips is becoming very expensive every year. Processes like 3nm and 2nm are incredibly costly, so if Samsung can reduce packaging costs while keeping performance high, that changes the economics of flagship phones. In simple words, Samsung could make more chips faster and cheaper, and that could reshape how future Galaxy phones are built. But again, this is still early information. A lot can change between now and the Samsung Galaxy S28 launch. New problems could appear, production could be delayed, or Samsung could decide to wait longer. But if this works, it would be a huge step for Samsung and their Exynos processors, and it might finally give them a new edge in the chip battle against Qualcomm and TSMC. So while everyone is busy talking about the Samsung Galaxy S26 Ultra right now, the real story might actually be happening quietly in the background, and it could shape what the Samsung Galaxy S28 becomes in the future.